seminal Australian hip-hop group The Herd, and co-founder of Elephant Tracks, one of the country's most exciting independent record labels. Clearly he's an amazing human being. Speaking with Tim today is Tamworth local Sally-Anne Whitson. Sally-Anne is an award-winning singer-songwriter, a music teacher, podcaster, and radio presenter at 2TM Tamworth, so equally as accomplished, apparently. Please welcome Sally-Anne and Tim to the stage with a very warm round of applause.
I just want to acknowledge Kamilaroi people that were on this land and pay my respects to elders past and present. And that was a really informative and beautiful welcome to country. I thank you to Uncle Lenny, and also the performance from Buddy was amazing. So that's awesome. Thank you.
I echo those sentiments. Thank you. It's always a beautiful way to start your morning. Now, Tim, for anybody who might not be as familiar with your work, can you tell us a little bit about your musical background?
I'm definitely not royalty. I just really want to just get that out of the way. But thank you for the nice introduction. I hope that most people don't know who I am, because that would be appropriate for a rapper being invited to Tamworth to talk to a bunch of songwriters in the country music capital. I am a musician though, and I'm involved in arts, and I'm involved in working with artists and supporting artists. And that's where I think the commonalities lie, no matter whether it's country music or blues or jazz or hip hop or electronic music. No matter what happens, we share so much of what that journey and what that lifestyle means for us as humans. And I think there's a lot of moments along that journey, whether it be a career or a hobby or some sort of interaction in the world, that world of culture that brings us together. So I was interested in writing, and that took me from graffiti culture to actual putting, like writing rhymes and working in a kind of poetic setting, and that took me into collaborating with other musicians. I always gravitated to hip-hop music, and there wasn't a great hip-hop part of the music industry when I began, so we had the fortune of being able to make it up as we went along. So that really opened up my involvement in the industry. And so I had a parallel experience of music where I was learning as I went in the songwriting and the process of putting albums together. At the same time, I was learning how to be a music manager and how to run a label. So without all the gory details, that's a bit of a summary.
That's quite a summary. I was expecting you to have your hat backwards.
Yeah, no, that's... they have to pay twice as much for that.
Right, okay. That's a terrible misappropriation of culture, and I apologise.
No.
So tell us a little bit about your journey as a songwriter, Tim. And as you touched on now, you've become a co-founder and a label manager. All of that all-encompassing work that you do, does that help you as an artist? Does it influence your songwriting at all, having experience in all those different other fields?
Yeah, definitely. I think, actually, it's a really interesting point. The way that artists interact with industry, like whether it be radio or whether it be record labels or booking agents or venues or whatever, that dynamic and that tension that exists between those two worlds is really interesting. And it's interesting because to really support artists, I think you have to remember what it's really like for artists. And of course, artists exist on a spectrum from, background that we none of us share the exact same background. So you have to sort of take that into account. But that shared experience of being an artist, which is fundamentally insecure. And people who are in industry roles, not always, managers have to kind of deal with what it is like not having a secure income. So there's not like all industry are salaried, but I think this is the fundamental question here is like, one of them has a salary, one of them actually takes money home no matter what. The other is just dependent on the fortune of a song or the luck of the draw, the song that resonates, cuts through, all those types of things are really important to continuously remember. So being on the label side of things and being a manager, I find like if I go on the road and I'm still relevant as an artist, when I say relevant, I just mean, you know, someone will pay $20 to go and see me play. Cool, sweet, I can go on tour, hopefully. I can take that big gamble. But being on the road, being in the green room, or not the green room, being in the shed, being in the storeroom at the back of the venue, wherever it is that you can sit and wait for the sound check to happen, wait to go and jump in the car, all of these other experiences that are really what touring is all about and what live music's all about. They have an impact on you. You remember exactly, you have a visceral experience of what that is, why that affects mental health, why that makes touring exhausting, what those circumstances are. You really get a very close, you remember that feeling very closely. So as an artist, if I'm not touring, I can slowly start to kind of take for granted that I've got a job and that I have stability and that I'm not on the road leaving my family. I'm not doing all these different things that wear you down. That is always important for me to kind of come back to, because then I remember, okay, I'm putting my artists on the road. I have to take responsibility for what I am sending them out into. And you can't control it, but you're not just making these decisions as if you're sitting in an office somewhere and that you're completely removed from all of those little things that break artists down. Yeah. I think that's important for me. I like that discomfort, because then I can remember and take seriously the concerns of artists and what they're going through.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So going back to the songwriting things, and you might find that your opinion might have even changed on these things if you've been working on the other side of that too, but is it different to write a hit song than writing a great song? So, and do you feel like as an artist you have to compromise your artistic integrity ever to write a hit song?
I don't know about everyone here, but if you're given the option of writing a hit song, you would generally write the hit song. If it were that easy, you would. It's like the thing that I love a lot about having no choice about coming into the music industry 20 odd years ago is that I didn't really have the skills and the sophistication, didn't have the family background. So I kind of had the freedom to just make heaps of mistakes along the way. But what that meant is I had a real slow trajectory as a musician, and all of the little things that if I had had sudden success would not feel like success felt like the greatest thing for me. Oh wow, it sold out 100 people. That's amazing. This is an amazing thing. What a, I mean, not a superstar. I never thought like that, but wow, this is really working. I got to enjoy every one of those little steps along the way. But the fast tracking that I see of a lot of artists, you would never say no. You would never go, oh, I'm going to go from not really being successful to suddenly selling out 1,000 tickets per show. You would never say no to that. No one would. But that is a blessing and a curse. From then on, you've got to balance, like, what does it feel like going backwards?
Yep.
So getting back to writing a hit song or writing a great song, I don't think there's such thing. I think it's just feeling that you have created something meaningful. Far out, that's the best thing in the world. And then if it becomes a hit song, then so be it. I don't think, I can only speak for myself. I've tried to write hit songs so many times.
Is that a different process, trying to write a hit, than just writing a song for your own personal songwriting benefit?
I think it's just like so many other things that we experience as artists, that you get tempted by an idea of something and then you try to kind of navigate your way to that idea of something. What that really is your bypassing your natural process in favour of an idea of something. So, trying to, I'm trying to write a hit song, has to be up-tempo, I'm trying to write a big chorus, it's got to be a sing-along. All of these things start to send your creative process down someone else's idea of how to get there. Yeah. And I look back on some of the songs that we did as The Herd, and most of the songs were pretty natural, and we never had a major label behind us or industry people really behind us. So we just got to do everything that we wanted to do. But I know that sometimes when we did get a bit of that success and we're like, okay, well now we've got to make more songs that are going to really work in a festival environment, they're going to work in radio, and some of those songs are my least favourite songs that we ever wrote.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I listen back to them and they feel forced. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I think that this is part of the narrative of musicians is like real and fake and all of these ways of dismissing other people who are essentially walking the same pathway that you are.
Yeah.
Actually, you're allowed to experiment. You're allowed to get it wrong. It's okay.
I think it's important, actually, that you do
that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, try it all, work out who you are. But I think that's the long-term goal, is just whatever you do, the better you're able to find out who you really are and just accept that and settle into that, the better chance you have of enjoying and having a rich experience with music, because always the idea of something is different to how it actually feels when you get there.
Yeah. Would you say, and I know this is a word that gets bandied around a lot when we're talking about songwriters, authenticity, but I personally feel like I connect better or the most with songwriters who I feel are being bone-achingly vulnerable, and that is really attractive to me, because I feel like that's an authentic song, that's an authentic performance. Would you agree with that? Do you think a good songwriter or a good storyteller or a good artist is someone who is unabashedly authentic and not afraid to just try new things but still be true to themselves?
Yeah, for sure. In some ways, I think no matter what you do as an artist, it's valid.
Yeah.
Whether you arrive at that place from maybe an inauthentic place, because what I think we forget is that music is a much more grand piece of our souls than we acknowledge. So the ego is like, well, I'm in control, so I'm therefore going to be authentic or not authentic in the process of doing it. But actually, even when you're really authentic, there's still a part of writing songs that's out of our control. There's still a kind of like I don't want to ramble here, because I sometimes find it hard to put this into words, but there's still something unconscious that is coming through our music, whether you're making all these conscious decisions around it or not, it doesn't matter. There's still something more powerful to be said. But authenticity is like, that is our great power. There's no question about it. Whenever you've got like however many billion people on the planet, and there's a whole bunch of, there's a lot of knowledge and there's a lot of techniques that we all have access to, but really, when push comes to shove, your own voice is the single best asset that you have, because there's no one else who's going to be, coming from your own perspective. So whether you're amazingly talented, you have all the connections in the world, when all of those things are sort of put into context your own sort of background, your family, your friendships, your work, the environment you grew up in. All of these things form this one unique way of seeing the world, and that's the best way that you have a chance of resonating with people, is bringing your true self to that. There's no question about it.
So being yourself is your superpower, being original.
Yeah, for sure. And also, we're creatures who like to belong, and we like to belong, and so it's natural that in music we look to what other people are doing as ways of just putting an anchor down. And so that means that when we are trying to write songs, we emulate and we copy and we share what other people have done.
So we fit in.
Yeah, it's okay, it's fine, but being able to acknowledge that and just put that to one side and just fully, completely be yourself is a great sort of thing to aim for and to aspire to.
So if we put your recording hat on now, switch hats.
Yeah.
What do you think, as an artist, what makes a great recording? So if someone wants to head into the recording studio to lay a track down to create a single, what's going to make it great? In your humble opinion, of course.
Appropriate laugh in the room. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that.
Well, when you think, do you have a favourite recording? Do you have a song that you listen to that you think that is the pinnacle of a great song? Like, for me, I would say my favourite song and recording would be "You Kid in Town" by the Eagles, because everything's in place. It's just a picture. The song's magnificent, the harmonies are great, the recording's warm.
Yeah.
For me, that's the ticks all the boxes.
See, the thing for me that I've started to have a bit more of an understanding of as I get older is that, you make all these decisions when you're writing a song, and at different points along the way, those decisions can kind of be either the right destination, the right kind of you're plugging into your Google Maps or whatever the way to get to the great song, or you never know which is the moment where you've turned it into not a great song.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really love and that I'm getting a better understanding of in the last few years is just how there's that intersection between feeling and songwriting smart. So the craft is good. We all work on the craft. The craft is the default. You cannot, if you're going to be a musician, you can't bypass it. There's no cheats. There's no plugins that are going to save you from the real true craft of trying to refine the processes. But the feeling is, that's the magic in a song. Is something that makes you feel. That doesn't have to be smart language. It doesn't have to be lots of multi-syllable words. It doesn't have to be really clever or structurally challenging or experimental. To get that feeling and to make a person feel something, that is just there's a chemistry there. It doesn't have to be a kind of oh, that's an unexpected phrasing. It doesn't have to. It can be the most generic phrasing, but if you feel it, and that's magic. And that can't really be kind of scientifically broken down.
Yeah.
That to me is a great song, is to find that space there. And getting back to what makes that maybe a hit song like the Eagles example is that I find that the great songs are where those just feel right. The way that the words and the melody and the chords and the composition, everything just sort of feels like it naturally weaves into each other. Now, if I can achieve that when I'm writing a song, if it's a hit song or not a hit song, I'm just stoked. Yeah. That's just it. No more, nothing else. Because I know that I'm not in charge of that. That is a Rubik's Cube. That's a Rubik's Cube. Like, I don't even know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. That takes a long. Rubik's Cube is probably a bad example because you sit there and kind of like.
No, that's good. I think.
But then what about those Rubik's Cubes I'm going to digress here. That are solved in like 3 seconds. That's the same with a song. Like you can actually come with it right, and that's. Love that. It doesn't take 27 years.
Tomorrow after lunch, Tim and I will be continuing our conversation. Just an extra $200 each. Just pay before you leave today. That'd be great. How much time have we got? We've got a little bit more time. Still, we're not over time, are we? Nah. All right. I'll just keep talking until someone boots me off. So, Tim, tell me about. In your career, what is the most proudest moment that you've had in your musical career?
Just buying time with a long sigh. What is my proudest moment? I guess there are moments where everybody is looking at you, and so they feel like they're the moments to be proudest. But some of the proudest moments in my career have been when I have helped others. So in the managerial capacity or in the music, in the behind the scenes, because there's something different about this continual. Process of, do I exist as an artist? Am I relevant? It's this low humming anxiety that continuously soundtracks your life as an artist, and it affects you down to your soul. But when I'm working on the industry side, I can just be a bit more objective. I'm here to help you, live your dreams or create your dreams. And some of the most proud moments have been where I've seen the struggles that an artist has faced, and then to be able to not just overcome them, because that's just not life. Life is actually just achieving things in spite of those struggles and those difficulties. It's not like one thing ends and then you have a proud moment because that thing's ended and you've overcome it. It's just that just keeps on going. That's a big part of me now, is trying to be more responsible in talking to artists and not just perpetuating this myth of success and stardom, and actually just going, no, what happens if music is just like any other regular job and you've got to do another job just in order to give you the luxury of being able to be that musician? What if we strip away some of the glamour and glitz and actually just get back down to the fact that, no, life kind of sucks. Life is great. Life's difficult. Life's wonderful. All of it, we don't just sort of look at it as like going towards something, and then when you get to that something, it's everything's going to make sense. But actually, no, it's you're going to keep on writing songs, and maybe if you're lucky, at one point in your career, lots of people are looking at you. But then when they all go, you're still writing songs. That's a beautiful thing, I still, some of the proudest moments I have is just by myself in the studio when I come up with a good idea, and then I wake up the next morning and I listen to it and I'm trying to work out, I think this is a good idea. And then I overcook it for the months after to the point when it finally gets released, and maybe it was a good idea. Maybe it still is, but none of it really matters. I mean, obviously, these things can be breakthroughs that can turn you into having a career or not. Like something might be successful and sell and then put you on the road. Cool, that's great. But really, in the studio, coming up with an idea, a melody, putting it down, and just having that self-satisfaction, it's kind of doesn't really get a lot better than that.
Yeah, that's the stuff right there. Yeah. So Tim, would you get an artist, let's just say that you had a young artist come to you, an aspiring hip hop artist that was really keen, really just wanted to be on the world stage, ready to go, comes to you with some songs, they're not quite there yet, but you can see potential, and there's definitely, a want from this artist to be better and do things. How does that conversation look like? Or how do you inspire them, telling them that they still have some work to do, but not quite there yet?
Break them. Shit on their dreams.
All right, next question.
I reckon these things are, it's a good question because it continuously happens. How to navigate that? And that's like a little while ago I was talking about constructive communication. Exactly the opposite of what I just did there. But like constructive communication is the responsibility of the person on the other side to the artist. It's not just like, I know what's going on, here I am, I'm going to give you this advice. It's actually like, what's going to be the thing here that's actually genuinely helpful? It's no good for me to tell that young artist that, yeah, go for it,
That's right.
I think it's great, just...
It's a hard line.
It is.
It must be. You want to be honest, but you don't want to smash their dreams into a million pieces. Or do you?
You do want to be honest. You've just got to find that constructive communication that's going to be respectful and sensitive. But there's nothing more, there's nothing that is less beneficial than lying to these artists and being able to change things where we can talk about these things in a way that nurtures and cares for these artists is the important thing. That artist might put those songs out, they're undercooked, and just the act of putting them out might be the thing that triggers them to go on to great things. So who the hell am I to come in and say, no, definitely don't do that? But working out what the line is there is impossible for you to navigate without being a bit clunky, without being a bit misunderstood. So I think it's something that I'm trying to work on, is constructive communication, to be able to kind of, help them out. But usually I find if you find a way of talking in a way that is respectful, that even if you're not giving them the good news that they're hoping to hear or telling them what they want to hear, quite often you can get back to that constructive point fairly quickly, but it's a continual challenge, that one. And every artist is different.
Yeah.
That's
good answers. Thank you. I was going to approach you with a project, but I think I'll skip that now. That was my hip-hop career, very short-lived.
Came and went.
Yeah. Anyway, I think, are we done for a couple of minutes? All right, we'll just quickly wrap up. So I guess then if you could leave all of our aspiring songwriters here with some general advice on how to go forward, what would you say to us?
I would say, like, if I can do a practical piece of advice, now this is probably, I don't know where this sits, it's going to be different for everyone in this room, but one thing I talk to a lot of young artists about is like getting rid of the idea of a job and how that job weighs you down. The idea of a part-time job just being there until you make it, I think it's an old way of thinking. I think it's maybe not been real for 20 years. I think what is beautiful about a job is it gives you the time and the space and hopefully the financial buffer to be able to do what you do with music. Now that's a blessing. Yeah. A part-time job needs to be seen less as something that is temporary in order for you to get what you want to get to where you want to go, and more actually, no, this is part of my life. I am going to do this job. This job is actually important. It's not a temporary thing. Now, it might just be a simple piece of advice that's relevant to some and not to others, but I think we've got to get over that mindset. Everything is not temporary. All of these decisions and all of these things that we do, they enable us the time and the space to be able to make music. And
there shouldn't be any shame attached to that, which there often is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a career that you'll gradually go up a ladder, or whether it's washing dishes, these things are not defining you. And music should not define you either. Like, you define you. You and who you are to your sister, to your grandfather, grandma, your friends, your workplace. That's who you are. You write music, cool. Something might happen, cool. Everyone's saying, oh, you're very good at this, cool. What about when that song that you do after that doesn't really get that attention? Does that mean you're not good at it? Nah. That's just like, comes and it goes. But going down and playing footy or whatever, it's just as important.
Footy.
Like all of these things, actually, we are not defined by the successes that music will sometimes take us to, and a lot of the times those, they're out of your control. You write a song, it resonates. It's not that good, but it resonates. It's popular. It sells a lot of records. That doesn't mean you're a bad songwriter or a good songwriter. It means you struck it lucky a little bit. Like something about you connected with something. You write another song's really good. It doesn't really connect. You feel a little bit invalidated by it. You're wondering about whether this is really your path.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. What you've done is a great song. Nothing else matters. And, being able to, trust your own vision and accept that when we go into a commercial world, all this stuff's out of our control. So don't kind of hold on to it like that outcome is is kind of like going to have the final say on your time as a musician.
So don't use that as your self-worth. Don't depend on the success of your work as your self-worth.
All of that stuff is out of your control.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to focus back on what you can control. If you can control it, cool, you can judge it. You can make your own personal hell on your own happiness. But if you hold on to other people's decisions for your happiness, it's just going to be a hard road. And it's continuously going to be hard. And I say that knowing that it's sort of inevitable too. Because the great place for me to get into an album with is like zero expectations. The last record I put out, I was getting a bit older. Hip-hop music is not an old person's, it's necessarily young. And that's great, that's beautiful. Doesn't mean that old people aren't relevant, no way. They have a role to play, just like any kind of like aging person has. They form context and they have soul and value, and it shouldn't never be about young and old. But I also accept that I love how things regenerate and rebirth and change. You've got to just fully like lean into it and accept it, because that's the edge of things, and it's awesome. But me, myself, as I was getting a bit older, I was like, oh, okay, I've had a good run. I really...
I'm quite old.
I do. Well, sorry, this is all context. It's all in the head, right? Like, you can be 30 and feel old. You can be 20 and feel old. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
These things that... They're always other people's ideas. So, take that with a grain of salt. I'm obviously not the oldest here, I'm not the youngest. But for me, I went into that record going, it's cool. I feel like I finally just sort of... I've actually already been lucky. I don't have a musical background. I have no right to have put out an album, let alone 10. So, why am I here thinking that I need to have this success with this? So I got back to a point where I was like, oh yeah, cool. If it goes well, it goes well. I've never been happier on an album cycle than that last one. Just reduce the expectations. As of course, a few little things happen along the way. I changed with it. I started expecting more,
Yeah.
and I started not enjoying it as much.
Yeah.
So being able to continuously get back to that point and just been like, just doing it for the reason that I'm doing it, which is it's necessary to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's perfect advice. That's a good way to finish our chat, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.